Welcome to the Life in the Red podcast presented by the Lincoln Journal-Star, your source for Husker news, analysis, and more. From football in the fall to recruiting in the summer, we've got you covered. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Basnett, Parker Gabriel, and Stephen M. Sipple.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome in, Life in the Red podcast. That's Steve. I'm Chris. There's Parker. Happy Thanksgiving, one and all. We're recording this on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, November 24th, 2:53 p.m. I've just started putting my son down for a nap. He's currently standing up in his crib as I watch him on the baby monitor. So if I go flying out of here, you'll know why.
Because he went flying out of the crib.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
No, please God.
Please God, no. That
Happy
mom would be very
Thanksgiving.
unhappy. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Nebraska, Iowa football Friday, wrapping up the season for the Huskers. Adrian Martinez not playing. We'll touch on that, of course. We'll talk a little hoops. We'll talk a little more football, and we'll get you out of here and get you ready to eat the mashed potatoes. So Scott Frost met with the media today, last media availability of the season, of the regular season anyway, before the game. Kind of wild to say, but covered several topics, covered Adrian, covered his quarterback situation. Parker, you were there. What were kind of your takeaways from what Scott Frost said today?
Yeah, well, the biggest piece of news today was that he said that Adrian Martinez was having shoulder surgery today, Wednesday, which that's fast, he just suffered the injury on Saturday. He'll be, first day post-surgery by Thursday. So that's a quick decision decision and execution on the surgery. And then the other thing, I think it's going to be a pretty quick decision on what Adrian Martinez's future looks like. I don't know if we'll know before the game, but Frost said, he thought, I asked him if there was a sense of urgency to figure out what Adrian Martinez was going to do, because it obviously, we're going to talk about this. It affects a lot of things for Adrian, obviously, and for Nebraska. And he said, yeah, there is. And I don't think it'll be long before there's a decision on that. So that's the latest with Adrian Martinez. Obviously, Logan Smothers now gets his first start. Frost said they're not going to reinvent the wheel. They're going to tailor a game plan to fit what they think Logan Smothers does well and what they think offensively will work well against Iowa. It's sort of interesting. Like, this will be the 6th game this year that Smothers has played in, but it's obviously the first time he's gotten a full shot of first-team repetitions in practice for a week. And it's the first time they've tailored a game plan in any way, shape, or form around his strong suits. So how that works, obviously they're playing against a really good defense, how that works, whether we see Heinrich Haarberg at all in the game, all that to be determined. But Frost said Logan Smothers handled the week really well, seems ready to go. And they're comfortable rolling him out there against a pretty good Big Ten West defense.
I hope this Logan Smothers has the attitude of, yeah, this is going to be my job. This is where it starts. That's what you hope he has. You hope he says, I don't care who they bring in the portal. Let's go. My first start's going to be a win against Iowa. And Adrian was great, but I can get this done. And it'd be really interesting if it looks that way. Interesting on a lot of levels, by the way. But he has a chance here to assert himself as a favorite for the starting job, I would think. Yeah. If he goes out and beats Iowa in his first start, that would go a long way with the coaching staff.
It's funny with the way
you think that would?
Yeah, I do.
It's funny with the way this week has gone, short week and obviously a lot of news and all that. I hadn't even really – it's not that I give Nebraska no chance of winning, but I hadn't exactly contemplated that yet of like, what if Logan Smothers – now, Sipple, you know how I feel about this. Wins and losses are not a quarterback stat.
Right.
But if Logan Smothers begins his career 1-0 with a win against Iowa, that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, it would. And that would be like in the weirdness of Nebraska football, that's like the most like obvious outcome, right? Like they go out there and just look like $1 million and beat Iowa and restart the hype machine going into the offseason. So yeah, it's going to be, I think they will use both quarterbacks actually. I think Henrik comes in for a series or two, maybe in the second quarter. Just get his feet wet, a little change of pace. We'll see. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that, but it feels like there's some stuff they can do with Logan, whether it's in the option game, using his feet maybe a little more than they've used Adrian's the last few weeks. At this point, what do you have to lose? You just put another freshman out there if he gets dinged up. So
they haven't dusted off that 2 quarterback section of the playbook since the McCaffrey Martinez days. So maybe
put them both out there at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. Line Hoiberg up as an H-back. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Send him out on a pass route. See what happens.
That'd be interesting. Go ahead, Heinrich. See what happens.
A little double pass. We'll throw it back to Heinrich, and Heinrich's going to rip one down the field to the big man, Omar Manning. We'll see. I guess this. Anything else you guys want to add on the quarterback situation before we move to the hot topic here?
Nope.
Hot topic. Like Parker said, Adrian Martinez having surgery today on his injured shoulder. He's got a decision to make, of course. He can come back for another year. He can move on. He can transfer. It's kind of all on the table for him. And so I think that brings up an obvious question. The hot topic is, what do you guys, or what do we think Adrian Martinez's future holds as a quarterback?
You guys go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of uncertainty right from Jump Street right now. It's one of the things that as you sort of process the information, it's just terrible timing for Adrian. You never want to have this level of injury, and let alone to a throwing shoulder for a quarterback. But man, I mean, it's really tough. And we'll see if there's any more information that comes out about, the timeline. How long is it? It makes a big difference if they think he can be fully healthy in 2 or 3 months, or if it's more of a 6-month variety, because if it's 6 months, it doesn't matter if he's here in Lincoln going through, spring ball with a new position coach and a new coordinator, or if he transfers into somewhere else. If you're not healthy for spring ball, it's hard to see a clear route to him winning a starting job, I think. And it's just odds, I guess. But to me, we're sitting here right now, if he's on the operating table today, it seems to me that his best chance to win a starting job at the Power 5 level is probably at Nebraska next year. I mean, that just seems like, all things considered, Scott knows him. He knows Scott. They trust each other. They might feel like they need to move in a new direction. You cannot take the possibility that he leaves off the table at all. But I just think if the question is, where is Adrian Martinez most likely to start next year and get real experience at the college level, I have a hard time thinking it's somewhere besides Nebraska.
Go ahead, Baz.
Yeah, I'm with you, Parker. I think there's a lot of uncertainty. I think we just don't know, right? There's everything you touched on. There's the NIL side of it too.
Yeah.
There might be a whole lot of money waiting out there for Adrian Martinez if he comes back to Nebraska in NIL deals, where if, for example, he decides to try out the NFL, there's no guarantee he'll make a penny playing pro football, so there's that part of it to consider too. Does he want to stay at the Power 5 level? Does he want to transfer back home, maybe play for Fresno State, where he would put up ridiculous numbers, no doubt, if he was fully healthy? I think it's all on the table right now. I think the future holds everything. It's such a, like you said, Parker, it's just a terrible spot to have this happen. Not that any time is good, but man, it's just, there's so many unknowns right now. Who's the offensive coordinator? If I transfer, what kind of system am I going to? Who wants me? Are they going to bring somebody in the portal? Who knows? So yeah, it's a fascinating topic, and as Scott Frost said, we'll probably get an answer pretty quickly on what he decides, which it's going to be interesting. If it's like the other guys, I mean, so a video is going to pop up on Twitter here in the next few days, and then we'll figure out what's going to happen. But,
Sipple,
it's fascinating.
Before you launch into the Sipple, one thing on the NIL front, I mean, Nebraska's has become really good in that department. They've got a lot of resources in that regard, but I think you also can't discount the possibility that they're going to need they're going to need NIL money to step forward to get another quarterback out of the portal.
Yeah.
Like if they're bringing somebody else in, or got a lot of transfers they want to try to bring in. I mean, there's not an unlimited number of dollars to go around. And so how that puzzle fits together isn't going to be the deciding factor, but it could be a factor.
Yeah, there might be an unlimited amount of dollars to go around, but I got nothing really further to add, except I don't expect Adrian to make an announcement before the game. It's not really his style. So I would expect something sometime after Friday. I just don't think he would do that right now, especially he's being operated on right now.
Yeah, if you did it right now, that would be something.
Probably not from the operating table.
Yeah. Or I don't even would expect maybe do it tomorrow. I just don't think that would be. It doesn't seem like Adrian's style. And I don't know what his Thanksgiving plans are. So that's a factor too. So that's that.
Wow, what a hot topic.
That was a great addition by you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll kind of stay in the same vein here. Of course, one of the things we just mentioned was who's the offensive coordinator going to be for Nebraska next year. Don't know that yet. It's not public yet. We know there's probably work going on behind the scenes. Scott Frost has certainly talked to people, engaged interest and things like that. And something we've talked about before, but it's probably worth mentioning again until we know who this person is. And I guess the question or the topic is how quickly do we expect that OC position to be filled? And not Sipple's out. Sipple just got hired to be the offensive coordinator at Nebraska. Is what just happened.
He took the money and ran, literally.
He did take the money and run. So yeah, it's like I feel like it's something that has to happen quickly, right? Because like you got to fill out the rest of the offensive staff.
Yeah,
you gotta recruit. If you got to find a new quarterback in the portal or whatever, you got to do a lot of stuff pretty quick. And signing date coming up, of course, in December as well. So yeah, who knows when it's going to happen? I think it happens pretty quickly though after the.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, I especially the coordinator position. I mean, I don't know this for sure. I mean, I think there's a possibility that they have candidates, whether it's a short list or a guy that they're targeting or whatever, identified. And if that's the case, there's an awful lot of schools whose seasons are ending on Saturday. And then also, I think we were talking about this earlier, like a bowl game, unless you're playing in the Rose Bowl or a playoff game or whatever, is probably less likely to keep a candidate where he is rather than jump in after the regular season ends. So I tend to think that it's possible something will happen quickly, after the full slate of college games ends on Saturday. Now, does that mean like Sunday morning? I don't, maybe into next week. But I think it's certainly possible that it's going to move fast. And it could be too that, maybe they have one staffer identified or two staffers identified that aren't the coordinator, but they know they want somebody on the staff, and any of that, is possible that there's movement on that front. I would say, could it happen tonight or on Friday? I guess if something could get out if anything was finalized, but I tend to think more that once the college football slate is clear on Saturday, that you're sort of in code red on that front.
It would be pretty amazing if it happened like Friday morning at like 11:30. He's here. He's at the stadium. He's going to watch the game from the box.
Yeah, exactly. That would be very interesting. Sipple, what do you think?
That'd be
next week.
Well, we just don't have a lot of answers. It's hard to talk about. We have virtually nothing really concrete to say. They got to move fast. I hope they move fast. But I don't know. It's hard to know exactly what they're doing right now. Clear answers. Yeah.
No clear answers. Steve Sipple, no clear answers. That's the name of his autobiography coming out next year.
How do you feel?
It's true.
How do you feel?
We can talk like we know what's going on when we really don't.
Yeah, we don't. No, we don't. We don't.
I think we've made it pretty clear that
we made it pretty clear we don't know what's going on.
All right. On that note, should we actually talk about the game that's going to happen on Friday night or Friday afternoon, I guess. Friday shortly afternoon, 12:30 p.m. Memorial Stadium, Nebraska versus Iowa, regular season finale for the Huskers. Iowa trying to win the Big Ten West title. They need a win and a Wisconsin loss to make that happen. Wisconsin playing Minnesota. Is that game Friday or Saturday, Parker, that Wisconsin-Minnesota game?
Saturday. I think Nebraska Iowa is the only Big Ten game on Friday.
One on Friday. So there you go. It's been a one possession game, of course, all 3 years that Scott Frost has been here. It's been a last second field goal in 2 of those. Nebraska's also had its normal starting quarterback for all 3 of those games. Iowa's offense is god awful, maybe the worst one they've had in several years, which is saying something when you look at their stats. But the defense is elite. The special teams are very elite. Interesting match. I saw it. I forget who wrote it. I saw it online somewhere yesterday. Somebody wrote, Nebraska plays well and doesn't win, and Iowa plays lousy and wins. Like that's a pretty good way to describe it, I think. So, yeah, interesting matchup. I mean, can Nebraska do enough offensively to make Iowa have to work on that side of the ball? Can they not turn it over? That's the real key against Iowa. If you don't turn it over, you're going to have a pretty good chance to win, because that's how they generate a lot of their points. Is they've got 21 interceptions this year, most in the country. That defense is opportunistic. They can set their offense up with short fields. They score in the return games, whether it's punt, kickoff. They did against Illinois last week, took a kickback 100 yards for a touchdown. They score a lot of ways that aren't with their offense, and that's going to be the key for Nebraska, I think, is can they take care of the ball in a manner that they really haven't done a whole lot this year. I
got a stat for you guys.
Let's hear it.
Charlie Jones, the return man, punt and kick return man for Iowa, has 869 total return yards so far this year. 869. 580 on a kickoff, 289 punt return. Mm-hmm. Nebraska, as a team, has 217 return yards. So Charlie Jones alone has 4 times the return yardage as Nebraska's entire team.
Bullett's offended by that stat. Bullett's taken aback by those numbers.
Seems a neighbor. Come on.
He sees.
Yeah, Charlie Jones is pretty good. He can motor.
He's got some motor. Yeah, that kickoff, he was running away from dudes on Illinois, and not that he was touched or slowed down in any way, but I mean it's really that simple, right? Like Iowa's elite at special teams. Nebraska's not very good. Iowa thrives on turnovers. Nebraska likes to turn it over. I mean, that's where it's at for the most part, I think. Nebraska's got to be, at worst, competent in those 2 areas, I think, to have a chance. And at best, they've got to play a better game than they have all year in those 2 departments. So that Iowa offense isn't scary at all. They've tried 2 quarterbacks. Alex Padilla, I think, is completing like 47% of his passes this year or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
He started the last 2 games. Neither of those guys, him or Spencer Petras, is a threat to run with the ball, both in negative rushing yardage. This year, when you factor in sacks, they have an outstanding center, probably the best center in the country, in Tyler Linderbaum, and they found some success in the running game, kind of running behind him the last few weeks since that Wisconsin game when they really got shut down. They've kind of found a little bit. The yards per carry hasn't been great, but the yardage has been good. So, I mean, that's what it is. You stop the run, you don't turn the ball over, you stay competent in special teams, Nebraska's going to have a shot.
I hate to make it sound like I have concrete information here, but I think if Nebraska slows down the run game, Iowa's run game, they'll be right in there.
Yeah, I agree. And you have to think there's probably a rebound performance in there for the Black Shirts after last week with what happened against Braylon Allen in Wisconsin. You would think maybe that was the start of a trend over these last 2 games. I guess we'll see. But Iowa's running backs don't scare me like Braylon Allen scares me. And it literally, that's a scary young man at 240 pounds.
The big question for Nebraska's defense is health, right? I mean, obviously Doman's out. Deontay Williams didn't sound good today from Scott Frost about his availability. Damian Daniels, maybe not. And Caleb Tanner, maybe not. So, there's up to Feldarius Payne's out for sure. So there's up to 5 guys that are in their, regular rotation that we know of that are either out or seemingly doubtful-ish. And so that doesn't help you when you're going against a disciplined, physical run game like Iowa.
What does Daniels have? What's his injury?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly.
Tanner? What's Tanner got?
That was a head neck situation. He took a shot to the head in that collision with Braylon Allen and was out. I mean, he was on the ground for quite a while, and it was scary looking, but was up and around and talking to teammates on the sideline during the second half.
Is Feldarius Payne going to play?
Nope, he's got an arm injury, and he's out. Frost said on Monday he will not play.
So we don't know about Caleb Tanner.
We don't. It's just, if that's a protocol situation, it's just a tight turnaround, short week and all that. It doesn't preclude him necessarily from playing, but we don't know what his status is.
And we don't know Damian Daniels if he's ready to roll or not.
Frost said today that he potentially could play, but then went into a spiel about how everybody's nicked up, and that's just the way it is this time of year.
What about Dante Williams?
Well, let's just do the entire defense. Let's just do that. Let's just run down every single player on the defense.
Frost said of Deontay Williams today that it would be tight, and I just don't. He was practicing last week and didn't play. This week it's going to be tight for him to play. So make of that what you will, I guess.
More like Feldarius in pain, which is why he won't play.
Feldarius pained.
Yeah, he's pained. We didn't do this last week. We forgot. You guys want to do some predictions on this game?
Sure.
What are we thinking? I can go first. And you know what?
Do it.
I say screw it. Nebraska wins this game Friday. I don't really have a good reason for thinking that other than it would be the most bizarre possible outcome, which would fit this season, I think. They've been close against Iowa the last 3 years. I think they can give Iowa, depending on how the game plan shakes out, and I obviously don't have any inside info, but it feels like Nebraska can give Iowa some trouble with the option game if that's the way they want to go with it. I feel like we could see more of that, and that's something Nebraska's had a lot of success with. They're not going to let Logan Smothers throw it a whole lot, I don't think, unless they need to. And if they do throw it and they're having some success in that option game or running the ball, all of a sudden you've got play action. Maybe you've got guys that are another half step more open than they were before. So, again, like I said, Iowa's offense doesn't scare me as long this is a big if, but as long as Nebraska doesn't have a catastrophe in special teams, give up a return, as long as they don't commit several turnovers and set Iowa's offense up, I like their chances. So yeah, give me Nebraska by one score. Nebraska wins by one score, 23-16 on Friday.
Go ahead, Parker.
27-20, Iowa. I think, it's like we've talked about, one team finds a way to win these type of games, one team hasn't. And the Wisconsin-Nebraska game last week and just the way that every defense seems to be a little beat up at this point. So I picked it maybe a little higher scoring than I would have 6 weeks ago. But yeah, Iowa 27-20.
It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick Nebraska with all those guys on defense hurt. I do think Goodson can hurt him. Maybe hurt him bad. Goodson's tough. He's fast and he's tough. Good cutback runner. I think that could be available. They don't have much. Padilla. He's not very good, but it's not like they lean on him to be good. And first-time starter quarterback against that defense, it's really hard to pick Nebraska. It'd be almost disingenuous for me to do it. I'm going to pick Iowa 21-10. 21-10.
There it is. All right. That means I pick up a game on you guys Friday in the Pick'em contest after Nebraska wins the game. So, all right. Should we any other football you guys want to touch on before we move on to hoops here?
No, let's talk hoops.
Let's talk hoops. Nebraska coming off a win last night, Tuesday night, against Tennessee State, 79-73. A lot more interesting than it should have been. Tennessee State, the lowest rated KenPom team Nebraska will play this year. They were down in the 320s last night when that game tipped off. Tennessee State led this game at halftime. They led this game with 12 minutes left. They were within 1 point with 7 minutes left. And Nebraska kind of started to build a little cushion, got it up to 10 with 2:15 left, and a minute later, Tennessee State had it back down to 5. So it's just a team that, again, is making it really, really hard on itself early in the year. It allowed Tennessee State to hit 13 3-pointers, 10 of them in the first half. Tennessee State went 10 of 19 from 3 in the first half. Nebraska was better in the second half. Nebraska, once again, really struggled to shoot the ball from the outside. And I've actually got a story, I think, that just went up on the website here within the last few minutes Nebraska currently is one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the nation right now, shooting 26.6% as a team from three-point range, and that's with C.J. Wilcher shooting 42% with the most attempts on the team. So that tells you how poor it's been in other places. If you go back over the last 25 years and look at the season-ending statistics from three-point range, right now this is the worst three-point shooting team Nebraska's had in the last 25 years. And think about some of the offensive teams Nebraska's had in that time. It's not what we expected, coming into this season with the shooters we thought this team had and the shooters Fred Hoiberg says this team has. So, look, they got a long way to go. They have won 3 in a row. It's the first 3-game winning streak since Fred Hoiberg's first season when they lost the first 2 games and won 3 in a row. Decent chance to make it 4 on Saturday against South Dakota State, but that's no cakewalk. South Dakota State beat Tennessee State by 17 the other night. And, did what they had to do. They can score the ball. So Nebraska's got some things to work on. You want positives. I think Alonzo Verge, and Fred Hoiberg said this, Alonzo Verge played his best game of the season last night, double-double, 18 points, 10 boards, 7 of 11 from the field. Thought he was really good picking his spots. Didn't really force any shots. He and Derek Walker have a really nice thing going in the pick and roll game. At least 5 of Alonzo's assists last night were to Derek Walker in the 2-man game in the pick and roll. Derek Walker's 19 for 20 from the field over his last 3 games, which is good against error, much less against actual college basketball teams. There's signs there that Nebraska's starting to get it. They're trending toward being an elite 2-point shooting team. I think they're 23rd in the country as of this morning, 2-point shooting. And think back to last year, all the layups that team missed, all the struggles that team's had, in the paint the last couple of years. So that's a good sign, but they've got to shoot the 3 better. They've got to defend the 3 better. Rebounding is what it is. They're always going to struggle with that. But if you've got to find some answers beyond the 3-point line on both ends of the floor.
Where were they picked in the Big Ten?
10th, I believe 10th or 11th. Yeah. So
looks a little high right now.
Looks a little high. And I said a few times, I wouldn't be surprised if Nebraska finished 7th in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if they finished 12th. And right now it's trending toward the latter of those 2. Now we'll see. Again, if they start shooting the ball better from outside, that all changes, and maybe they do start shooting the ball better. But yeah, it hasn't been very good. CJ Wilcher's been the one guy, like I said, that's really kind of lived up to the billing. 42% on 26 attempts. Bryce McGowan's has struggled to get it going. Kesey Tominaga struggled to get it going. Alonzo Verge has struggled to get it going. Matt Mayen's really struggled to get it going. They don't have anybody outside of Verge and Kobe Webster right now who's shooting better than 25% from 3-point range. Webster's 5 for 10. He's only played in 4 games. And I think he had 4 of those against Creighton, if I remember right. So it's funny. I did not think offense would be the problem with this team. And so far the offense has been the problem. They've got to find some answers. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry right now.
A couple games in, you look at a team that's not shooting it good or shooting it really hot or whatever, and you say it's just a couple games, that could be anything. At what point are 5 games in, Baz, or 6 games in? Are we at the point where you start to wonder if it is going to come around? And I'm not saying they're going to shoot 26% all year, but at what point do you get the sense from the coaching staff that they're starting to wonder if this is actually a good shooting team, or if maybe they misjudged what they have in terms of, gameplay and the ability to make shots in games?
It's funny. Like you said, they're only 6 games into the season. That's 20% of their schedule.
Right.
They're a fifth of the way through the season already, which is kind of crazy. And Fred Hoiberg has said from the beginning, he thinks Nebraska will shoot the ball better. He's very confident they will. I think maybe part of that's just a coach trying to pump up his guys who are lacking some confidence. But Fred has not wavered in that at all. And he the quote of the line of the night last night was, we stat our practices. We've been statting them going all the way back to June. When we play live action, when we scrimmage, and a lot of Nebraska's guys are shooting better than 40% from 3-point range. And then Fred kind of laughed and goes, well, maybe that's because of the defense we're playing too. So then, that's line. Part of it. It was a pretty good line. So part of it is Nebraska's missing open shots. Yes. I think teams are doing a pretty good job of running Nebraska off the line right now, because I think they see what Fred Hoiberg sees, and this team does have some shooters on it. And, we've seen it before. You miss a few shots, you start to press a little bit. Maybe you take a challenge shot where you should have passed it or drove it or whatever. So, yeah, look, they're not going to shoot 26% all year. I don't think they will anyway. If they did, again, it would be historically bad for Nebraska. And think about that. So we'll see. It's got to get better at some point. You know, if they can get a couple guys going, this team, I think, has the offense to play with a lot of teams. But they got to find it because the schedule is going to start getting harder real quick. South Dakota's no cakewalk on Saturday. Then you're at NC State. You got the neutral site with Auburn coming up. You got a couple of Big Ten games coming up here pretty soon. You're at Michigan and home against Indiana, and Indiana's been playing really good defense the last couple of weeks. Then you got a few more. Go ahead.
South Dakota and KenPom? What's South Dakota like?
202.
4-1. They lost to Drake 99-50, I think it was, and they've won everything else. Now that's Tennessee State. That's Southern. I think they played an NAIA team. But look, Nebraska should win that game. South Dakota came in here a couple of years ago, and Nebraska handled them pretty good. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of it. They're doing some pretty good things. Like I said, Alonzo Verge has looked great the last couple of games. Derek Walker's looked great. They're finishing inside, but they can't stop teams from making threes on defense, and they can't make threes on offense, which sounds an awful lot like most of the years Tim Miles was the coach here. So we'll see. They got, like I said, they got South Dakota Saturday. Yeah, then you're at NC State a few days later. You're at Indiana a couple days after that, and then you got Michigan at home, and then you're Auburn on a neutral court, and then you're Kansas State at home after that. So you got high major competition coming up, your next 5 games basically after this one. So they got to find something and find it quick here.
Yeah, last night was interesting because I wasn't that interested until it was Tennessee State was up at halftime, and I saw the look on the coaches' faces like, oh, this would be not good if we lose this game. I mean, it would have been a disaster, actually.
Tennessee State 318th in the KenPom as of this.
Yeah, and then you'd have losses to Western Illinois and Tennessee State. And if you have any hopes of being a bubble team, they're almost done before December.
Those 2 losses, you played a close game against Sam Houston State. Creighton had you down 10 minutes of the game. You probably have a pretty good idea what kind of team you have if Nebraska loses that game last night. So, but they won. And again, that's the thing. They won the game, man. Let's not lose sight of that. They didn't win pretty. And look, a lot of Big Ten teams have not won pretty this year, and a lot of Big Ten teams have lost a lot of games this year. The conference as a whole, I think, has been pretty disappointing outside of Purdue, who's looked outstanding early in the season. But look, the Big Ten's kind of gettable, as weird as that is to say. I'm not saying Nebraska's going to go win the Big Ten title, but it's gettable. It's there. We've seen it in the non-conference. There's not outside of Purdue, there's not a team that you look at and go, oh man, I don't know if Nebraska can get those guys. So it's there for Nebraska. If they're going to make a jump this year, they're certainly going to have the opportunity, but they've got to be better offensively and defensively from beyond the 3-point.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd make of the world if Nebraska wins the Big Ten.
How about that?
That would be.
How about you and I covering the regular season finale at Wisconsin with Nebraska needing a win to win the Big Ten regular season title in basketball?
We're staffed up. We got like 4 people at that game.
Yeah,
we'd need 4.
There's 4 of us in Indianapolis for the Big Ten tournament where Nebraska is the number 1 seed in the Big Ten basketball.
That would be incredible.
It would be incredible. It would be incredible.
I wouldn't know how to. I'm not even sure I could size that up.
Yeah.
You can get good odds, put it that way.
Yeah. Nebraska currently ranked 308th nationally in 3-point percentage out of 354 Division I teams. So
you'll get better.
Nebraska 22nd nationally in 2-point percentage. Think about that. They're shooting 58.5% from 2-point right now.
You would think there'd be
shots they want.
You think there'd be some regression to the mean on both of those numbers?
Yes, I think one will go down and one will go up over the next few weeks here as they start seeing some different competition. So, yeah, we'll deal with the football game Friday. Then we can worry about basketball after that, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Let's wrap it up.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We want to thank you guys. We're thankful for you guys for watching, listening, giving us a platform to do this every week and letting us ramble about stuff. So enjoy the time these next couple days. We'll watch a football game Friday, and we'll talk to you again next week.